Greetings and a hearty welcome, everyone. I hope you're all faring well. I'm Dr. Jean Marie, your Love Light host, coming to you, shining love light into your hearts and homes to uplift, inspire, and empower you to create a life you love. Our show today is Directing Energy for Healthy Living with Susan deCaussin. Harnessing our energy is wielding our inner power with focus, intention, and feeling to unlock our true power to live a healthy and happier life. As stated by Aristotle, our mind's energy is what makes life worth living. It's the heartbeat of our actions, emotions, and aspirations. So, how can we direct our energy in meaningful ways? How can we wield our life force to fulfill our passion and attract what we desire? How can we become more aware of how we are using our energy in our daily lives? Our amazing guest today, Susan deCaussin, owner of Healing Methods in Troy, Michigan, is a clinical hypnotherapist, Reiki Master teacher, and Siwa Muri practitioner and teacher trained in Bali, Indonesia. She offers her clients a variety of different paths to healing in their daily lives. She and her husband, Mike, have built a strong community of powerful and compassionate healers around the world. So now I welcome Susan deCaussin on our show today, Directing Energy for Healthy Living. Susan, welcome to Love Life.
Thank you so much. It's always such a pleasure to be on your show with you, Jean, and sharing all of these wonderful techniques and tips to help people make it through life in a healthy, wonderful way.
And thank you so much for being here and for all that you do to make the world better and help clients heal themselves and create that positive ripple effect for change. Susan, I'd like for you to share with us more about the Siwa Muri ancient Balinese training in Indonesia and what inspired your interest in this area.
Well, I always feel spirit led in everything that I do. And I happened to be watching a documentary that was on Gaia TV, and it was about a healing modality that just drew me in. It was one of those things where I watched it several times in a row, as did my husband. And we knew after watching it several times that we just needed to learn this modality, which is a Balinese form of Hinduism out of Indonesia. So we just didn't stop until we figured out how to learn this modality. Basically, we learned it here in the US, but then we traveled to Bali, Indonesia in March of 2020. Great time to go to the other side of the planet, right? In the middle of a
Yes,
pandemic.
yes.
But we traveled there and we were able to meet the master teacher. And for 11 days, we were in class with him, learning techniques and having him work with us so that we could hone our skills. And then after we returned from Indonesia and spent about a year working with clients, a lot of people were very interested in wanting to know how to use this very powerful ancient healing modality. We were already Reiki Master teachers, but this was different. This was much, much more powerful. And so I had people that wanted to learn how to do it, and I contacted the master teacher, and he actually gave us his blessing to begin teaching. And so we have been teaching it since 2021, and we now have graduates in New Zealand, Ireland, South Africa, I mean, all over the world and all across the United States as well. And it's an absolute passion to be able to share that knowledge and to watch people become aware of how to manipulate universal healing energy for themselves, their families, and for clients.
Mm. That is so inspirational, and it shows how we're drawn into things that we have to do or learn more about. And thank you for sharing that. And I like to express gratitude and appreciation and pay homage to ancient healing masters, practitioners, and teachers around the world for their generosity in sharing their gifts and talents.
Absolutely. And that's what I want to do. That's what we want to do is we want to create healers across the globe so that we can start to heal some of the difficulties, mind, body, and spirit around the planet.
Hmm. And so, what is your role as a master? I think you're Reiki Master, a hypnotherapist. What is your role?
Primarily, I do clinical hypnotherapy. I find that a lot of people's behaviors and habits are driven by things that are being held in their subconscious mind, and they aren't even consciously aware of why it is that their life is turning in a way that is not bringing them joy, not bringing them a sense of purpose. But with hypnotherapy, I can help them to go into that subconscious mind and release whatever it is that's holding them back from living their best life. It's going a bit further than just taking on those conscious roles of watching what you eat and doing yoga and doing meditation. Many people are doing all of those things and still feel held back. And a lot of times it is things buried in the subconscious mind. And once those are released, they're able to move forward unencumbered and have the joyful, successful life that they've always dreamt of.
And healing, I think we know that healing is deeper from what you're indicating. And I think it was Carl Jung that says, it's an inside job. And sometimes I think people don't really understand, well, what does that mean, being an inside job? And it brings me to the question about energy. Let's talk about energy. A lot of times, spiritual teachers and leaders use a lot of esoteric terms that's hard for people to grasp. So let's really talk about energy,
Well, you
how
know
it
what?
works.
Everything is
Mhm,
energy.
mhm,
From, us as physical beings to the desk that's sitting in front of me at this moment. And all energy is connected. It's kind of like the fingers on your hand. They're not independent, they're all connected. But everything's moving at different vibrational speeds. So, for example, if you looked at a fan and the fan was turned on, you would be able to see through the fan as if the blades were invisible. That's moving at a high frequency. That's a good example of something moving at a high frequency. If energy is moving at a low frequency, it creates density, such as when you turn the fan off and the blades stop moving and you cannot see through the blades of that fan. That's just a very simplistic way of explaining it, but the higher the vibration, the more capable our bodies are of healing. Same thing with our minds, holding high vibrational thoughts, which would be positive, loving thoughts that leaves us in a better state of mind than if we're holding low vibrational thoughts of resentment and anger and distrust and things of that sort. So, energy can be connected to everything from our thoughts to our physical well being to the environment that we create around us.
mhm. And before our show, we were talking about how we can automatically or habitually get trapped into negative energy, whether it's listening excessively to the media or, doing things that really don't inspire high vibrational living. Talk about that in terms of just the collective energy that impacts us, because many people are feeling out of sorts, out of control, yielding power to outside forces.
And that's really something that I want to go into in depth throughout our entire talk today is giving people information on how to identify these negative energies, the ones that are outside of us, the ones that are inside of us, so that we can not only guard ourselves from taking those things on, but those that come on us without our ability to filter, how do we get rid of them? How do we shed them? So these are the points that I really want to share throughout our talk today. And I hope that listeners will really tune in and maybe even grab a notepad because there will be some great things that you'll want to keep in mind when it comes to protecting yourself from those negative energies, because those negative energies will affect the health of your body, mind, and spirit. Literally, the health of your body down to a cellular level can be affected by you taking on negative energy that you're exposed to through negative people, negative news reports, toxins that you take into your body through food, water, air. All of these things can cause your health to decline.
And it takes awareness to be uh, fully present with ourselves and in tune to how we're feeling, what we're thinking, what we're doing, to not be impulsive and reactive because we create more of the same results that may or may not be in our best interest. So would you share a little bit about energy blocks? Yeah, I know we talked about how we can get stuck in ourselves, our lives, looking through the veil of human senses when we do not understand our power. Can you, really share more about that?
Yes, I really do believe that we are two elements together. We are an energetic element and a physical element. And when we get too attached to the physical experience and we start to take it too seriously and become too connected and thinking that that's all there is, then we make ourselves vulnerable. We leave ourselves vulnerable to taking on all of that negativity. And when we stay connected to the energetic side, I look at it as basically turning on your inner GPS system. You have a GPS system in you that guides you intuitively toward the
Mm.
things that are good and right for you. But we have been so easily distracted by the things of the physical world that sometimes we forget to nurture that side of us. And that side of us can be nurtured through silence and stillness, through listening to meditations and uplifting speakers, through spiritual guidance, and through having a good spiritual community that supports you so that you can hear that inner voice that is always there to guide you towards your highest and best.
And, a lot of times, I think for our listeners and even for myself, we have to really pay attention to how we feel. How often do you perhaps listen to something or be around certain people or situations and you don't really feel good being there or listening to that, but you stay, you continue when all of your gut feeling is telling you something's off. What's your thought about that, Susan?
Well, I'll tell you the key to all of it, and you kind of hinted toward that a minute ago. It's all about self-awareness. If you are easily distracted by what's going on around you, you're not paying attention to the thoughts that are zooming through your head. If you start to pay attention to what it is that's going on around you and within you, that's when you can start to put that filter up. That's when you can start to kind of screen out those things that are not for your best. And when you ask about the practice, well, the practice has to be a daily thing. In the
Mhm.
beginning, it can feel a little bit forced, but as you move forward, just like anything, you will form the habit of grounding yourself, of connecting yourself, of having silence and stillness, of really paying attention to what's going on around you, and then making a conscious choice to remove yourself from situations and circumstances that are not going to benefit you in the long run.
I love that because it does take that awareness. And, for our listeners, how often do you listen to something or get stuck or whatever, and that the minutes turn to hours and hours turn to days, and when you really uh, realize it, you're totally trapped and stuck. So I think it's so important to kind of shift, right? I mean, Susan,
Yeah.
getting out of that, how do I get unstuck? Because I know in our next segment, we're going to talk more about strategies, but you know, our listeners are wanting to know, how can I feel better now? What is it
Okay,
that I
so
can do now? Mhm.
here's a quick tip that everybody should pay attention to, and that is one of my favorite speakers is Dr. Wayne Dyer. I used to love reading his stuff, listening to him, and he used to say that the human psyche is only capable of a village worth of bad news, and we live in a world where we're getting bad news from around the planet continuously. You have to be very aware of what is going on around you so that you can put up those walls, you can stop it. Because here's the thing, if you learn about something that brings your energy down, that makes you sad, that makes you angry, but it's not something that you have control over, you are literally just giving away your energy with nothing to show for it. So when you are listening to news or drama around you, ask yourself, is this something that I have control over changing or is it not? And if it is not, then just divorce yourself from that. Just refuse to take that on and remove yourself from that new show, that situation, from that person that is bringing you down, because you don't need to take that on and take that burden on if you can't fix it. You've got two choices. If you can't change it, you have to decide, am I going to let it change me?
I love that. That's a great tip. To be aware of what's going on inside of you and around you. And we do have the power to be in control, and it is our responsibility. And Susan, before we go on break, can you share briefly about what's within our power to control when it comes to manipulating energetic change?
Everything,
Mm,
everything,
mm,
because the truth of it is, there is nothing outside of you that can sway you in a direction you don't want to go in unless you choose to surrender yourself to it. So basically, what it comes down to is no matter what's going on around you, no matter who you're with, no matter what the circumstances, your choice lies in your ability to choose how you're going to react and respond to it.
That's so important. It gives us hope to know that we have the power to choose. And this is all about empowerment. And empowerment really is about loving and caring for yourself.
Yes,
hmm
absolutely.
hmm
Absolutely.
hmm hmm Any other examples before we go on break for to bring it home to our listeners about how we can control and that it is our responsibility to be in control?
Well, when it comes to your physical body, I want you to keep in mind that about every 7 years, you have lost enough cells and had them replaced with new cells that literally you could generate your entire body over again.
Mhm.
But the health of the energy, the vibration of the energy that those cells are born into is going to determine the health of those cells, therefore, the health of your body. So it's real important that you listen up and find out how it is that you can make sure that you're doing everything to release the toxins and protect yourself from outside sources of toxic sources so that you can bring those new cells into a healthy environment. And that's something I really want to talk about more in the next segment.
Okay, so it's so important to preserve and protect our energy. So now we're ready for a brief commercial break, and we can't wait for our next segment to learn more about practical strategies and techniques to manage our energy with Susan deCaussin, founder of Healing Methods, clinical hypnotherapist, Reiki Master, Siwa Muri practitioner, on our show today, directing energy for healthy living. Stay tuned, we'll return shortly. Welcome back to Love Light Living in the Spirit of Love. On our show today, Directing Energy for Healthy Living, we are with Susan deCaussin, founder of Healing Methods, Clinical Hypnotherapist, Reiki Master, Siwa Muri, practitioner and teacher. And we are delighted to have her on this show today. And in this segment, we're going to learn more about strategies and tools to manage our energy. So, Susan, talk more about manipulating energetic change. What are the limits, or are there limits?
There actually are no limits when it comes to creating energetic change in your surroundings, in the health of your body, down to a cellular level. One of the things that I think is really impactful is if anybody's ever studied the experiments of Dr. Emoto, and you can look that up online. Dr. Emoto did these wonderful experiments with water crystals. He showed how the power of intention and thought energy could actually change the quality of the water that was preyed upon and it was like showered with positive words of love and kindness. When they would freeze that, it would show these incredibly beautiful crystal formations. But the water that was showered with negative words and intentions, when it was frozen, it created these random, irregular, and like shattered crystal patterns. And then he did his experiments to go even further with rice and with plants and other things to show how everything can be energetically shifted by the quality of the energy that it's exposed to. Now, if you think about that in your own life, what are you exposing yourself to? And how is that affecting your body down to a cellular level? It's really crazy when you think about it.
That's a great example, Dr. Emoto's work. I recommend that listeners, go online and check it out because I have studied his work and I make it a practice, Susan, to kind of bless water as I use it, as I drink it, because that is such a profound study and a realization of how we, our energetic thoughts and how we talk, how all of that is energy and how it affects everything around us.
Absolutely. I would love to talk about where toxicity does come from so that people can get a better idea of what to look out for. I mean, toxins accumulate in our bodies over time from both external and internal sources. Externally, it can be everything from what you breathe, you eat, you drink, even like the lotions and potions and soaps that you use on your skin, household cleaners that you expose yourself to. But then there's internal sources that can be the biggest culprit, the quality of your thoughts about yourself, about others, about the world. All of those create low vibrational energy, and that energy then affects you. So, a lot of things can be done to avoid these circumstances, but also to shed the toxins that you have within your body. Why? Why is it so important? Well, if you think about the energy in your body as a highway, with off ramps on it. The highway has the energy flowing through it, and the off ramps is taking energy to your systems and organs in your body in order to maintain wellness and fight off disease. Well, those toxins, when they get absorbed into your body from whatever source, they can create roadblocks, energetic blocks along those meridians. And then those roadblocks keep the energy from flowing freely. And then that in turn ends up causing your body to create illnesses and disease and chronic pain because it's not getting the energy flow to the areas it needs in order to maintain wellness. So, this is why it's so important. And it sounds crazy, but even negative thoughts can create a tangible roadblock in the traffic of your energy flowing through your body. Isn't it nuts?
Hmm. And, I think there may be listeners saying out there, with all that's going on, how can I be positive when every minute there's something negative that's impacting me? And I'd like for you to talk a little bit about that power of positivity and how it creates new pathways so that listeners can understand neural pathways.
Yes, and I'm so glad you brought that up because as an intuitive, I get some pretty incredible lessons from spirit. And I shared this one with you when we spoke about a week ago, and I want to share it with the listeners People may say, well, what can I do? I think negative thoughts throughout the day, but I'm thinking thousands of thoughts. How can I switch to being a more positive thinker? I'm never going to catch every one of those negative thoughts. Spirit showed me a beautiful image. They said, imagine that you're in a coliseum and all of the windows are blacked out and it's so dark you can't even see your hand in front of your face. But somebody down in the center of that coliseum lights a match. That tiny spark of light would be visible from wherever you were inside that coliseum. And Spirit said to me that that shows the power of positive thoughts in a sea of negativity, that the darkness cannot exist where there is light. So each time that you catch yourself through that self awareness, there's that word again,
Hmm.
self awareness, and you stop that negative thought and you shift it to something positive, perhaps something that you have to be grateful for in that moment. You have just lit that match and you have sh- taken away all of that darkness around you, and you have literally overpowered hundreds if not thousands of negative thoughts. So don't ever dismiss the power of shifting one negative thought to positivity, because it truly is going to take away so much negative thought just by bringing one change in place. And it's creating neural pathways within your brain. For the people that are more scientific, know that each time that you think in a new or novel way, you are creating a new pathway within your brain. And each time that you repeat that thought, that pathway strengthens until it gets to the point to where you're exposed to a situation, your mind wants to know how to react, and it chooses the path that feels best. And it starts to send everything down that path of thinking positively. It's an amazing thing, but we can train our minds to see the good in everything if we just start with that first negative thought, switching it over to something positive. It gets easier each time you do it until it becomes automatic.
And Susan, that's a great example about the light in the darkness. And I like for our listeners to remember that the light within is always shining, but we have a tendency to get dumbed down or that light get covered by negative thoughts and beliefs and feelings. And I think it's so important to know and pay attention when you're feeling off. A lot of times, as I indicated before, we have a tendency to keep on with that negative thought. And as Susan indicated, let's reframe it. And it's not saying that we have to just be up and positive all the time, because we have to tend to our emotions. And that's something that I like for us to talk about, Susan, that we can't dismiss our feelings. Tune in to how you're feeling and do some self-reflection and introspection, because feelings are important.
Absolutely. And, like you said, we can't just dismiss it and not pay attention to it. We have to realize that when we feel down within us, when we start to feel bad, it's an opportunity to learn about your own triggers. And I never look at situations that leave me feeling bad and blame it on the situation. I use it as an opportunity to say, okay, so why did that trigger me the way that it did? And it gives me an opportunity to see where my weaknesses are so that I can work on them, so that I can create a new scenario, a new story in my mind. It all comes down to your beliefs. So I know you touched on this a moment ago. Beliefs are so important. If you believe that you are going to be in a vulnerable position, you are going to place yourself in that position, whether you know it or not, from a subconscious level. Your subconscious mind is going to follow through on whatever is listed in your beliefs. So it's time to really become self aware. What do I believe? Do I believe that I'm going to be in a bad situation by doing this or saying this or being with this person? Beliefs also can drive our health. And I'd like to just touch on for a moment, if I could, the whole idea of people being diagnosed with things, because these days it just seems like everybody's walking around with a list of labels on them that they've been diagnosed with. A diagnosis to me is really nothing more than a list of symptoms that they have given a title to. Symptoms are actually the imbalances in that energetic flow throughout the body. So instead of labeling and then telling your subconscious, I have arthritis, I have this, I have that, and then having your subconscious say, oh, well, if that's what you believe, then I'm going to bring forward every example of what that label can bring to you by every symptom, because it will follow through like the genie in the lamp. Your wish is my command. Or you can instead turn things around and say, okay, I'm having these symptoms. How can I create better balance in my body energetically in order to treat these symptoms? Don't say I have, don't adopt a diagnosis. Instead, work toward removing toxicity, finding balance within your body, and then allow that balance to bring you into that healing state. I think the biggest thing is, we're used to everything happening now. We want it now. We want it now. So we think taking a pill, getting a shot, boom, it's going to fix us right up. But you know what? As we go back to some of the old ways of treating some of the issues that we deal with in our health of our mind and our body, we're starting to find that they knew what they were doing.
Mhm.
Do you know what I
Certainly,
mean by that?
certainly, certainly.
Yeah. So I think that sometimes, we need to revisit the old way of doing things. We need to be patient. We need to take responsibility instead of eating a lot of junk, listening to a lot of junk, and thinking a lot of junk, and then wondering why we feel like junk. Why don't we take responsibility for those things that we're taking into our mind and into our bodies, and then move in a direction of avoiding toxic sources and then shedding the toxicity that is building up in our body from sources that we can't stop.
Mm, very well said. And I like to go back briefly to what you were saying about triggers, because a lot of times, we get triggered by other people. And I think we have to look at, what is this showing me about myself that I need healing from? A lot of times we get so intertwined into looking at the other for triggering us. But, to me, it's really like, okay, what is it about me that I need healing? To really move forward and, really be more loving and caring for myself. And I love what you said about our beliefs, being aware of our beliefs. And this takes awareness. And as you indicated, a lot of times we're looking for quick fixes, the pill that, makes me feel better instantly, but I have to take it every several hours. And it's not that I'm downing that, but it's like what you're saying, Susan, be more in control and aware, be knowledgeable, be patient, be committed to healthy living.
Yeah, we live in a world that has trained us quite well to believe that everything we need to be healthy, happy, safe, and well comes from outside of us. It's
Yes.
how many people make money. Buy my car, buy my drug, take my exercise class, go to my yoga class, whatever the case may be. We have been very well trained to where we should all have a star on our forehead for being, looking outside of ourselves for the answers. But really, the answers lie within us. And it's through that self awareness and through setting up those healthy boundaries around ourselves that we're going to really start to take back control. Because in the end, it's never about what's happening around you. And it's always about your choice in that moment of how you're going to react. I have seen people that fly off the handle in the simplest situations, but then I've seen other people that just always are able to keep their calm and their cool in every circumstance. And they're in the same situation. Why is that? Well, it's because the one person has made a choice, and their choice was not to be uprooted and not to be pulled into an energy that is not going to serve them well.
And Susan, it takes a lot of time to come down from negative energy, anger, right? Having bad temper. I mean, it kind of stays in your field, and it takes so much longer for you to rid yourself of it. So why not become more aware of how I'm feeling in the moment so that I can shift it and not be stuck and go down that rabbit hole with feeling angry, you know, you know, in the next moments or hour or days or whatever, when it's harder to really snap out of it.
And it is really worth saying that sometimes those triggers, like the anger triggers and all of that, sometimes they're quite obvious that they are
Hmm.
things that we can control on a conscious level. But
Hmm.
the reason why I love hypnotherapy is because oftentimes there have been things that have been said or done to us in the past that we don't even have conscious memory of, that are creating this desire within us to react in ways that maybe we're not necessarily proud of or happy about, and we don't know where it's coming from. And that's where clinical hypnotherapy can really help, because it allows you to release those emotions and those triggers to those emotions without needing to be consciously aware of what caused them in the first place. Whereas oftentimes talk therapy can resurface very damaging and upsetting things, hypnotherapy releases it without having to be consciously aware of it. So oftentimes if I have people, they say, I'm doing yoga and I'm eating right and I'm doing this and I'm meditating, and still I don't know what the problem is. That's when I look at them and I say, well, that gives me a clue right there. There's something going on below your conscious awareness. Let's do some hypnotherapy. And that usually is the one thing that they need that they've been missing.
So, Susan, how long does it take? I know it's probably, based on individuals, but how long does it take for sessions of hypnotherapy to bring things, into our consciousness for healing and
Well,
letting go?
I can only speak for my practice, but I will say in the years that I have been doing this, on average, I have found that 3 sessions seems to be the magic number. And it always amazes me that someone will come and say, I've been in talk therapy for 20 or 30 years and I'm not making any progress. And they come to me as the last resort. But truly, they'll have 3 sessions and I'll say, well, are you ready to kick the training wheels off and try this on your own? Use the techniques that I've provided you. And I'm amazed at how many people are fine at that point.
That's fantastic.
It
Well,
is.
Susan, and for our listeners, we are ready for another commercial break. And I think in our next segment, we're going to talk a little bit about the techniques of regular grounding, balancing, and releasing. And we are just delighted to have Susan deCaussin on our show today. Directing energy for healthy living. Susan is the founder of Healing Methods, Clinical Hypnotherapist, Reiki Master, Siwa Muri practitioner and teacher. Stay tuned, we'll return shortly. Welcome back. You've been listening to Love Light, Living in the Spirit of Love. And on our show today, Directing Energy for Healthy Living, we are with Susan deCaussin, founder of Healing Methods, Clinical Hypnotherapist, Reiki Master, Siwa Muri Practitioner and Teacher. And Susan, thank you so much for really sharing knowledge about awareness and things that we can do every day to manage ourselves and manipulate our own energy in positive ways. And you're going to share more about how to release toxicity and some strategies to share with our listeners.
Yes, absolutely. Because as I mentioned earlier, there are some things that we can consciously avoid getting ourselves involved with. But sometimes, there are toxins in the environment that start to build up within our body, and it's good to have regular clearing. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that not only are you avoiding, but you're also regularly balancing and clearing so that your body is at the best possible place to create that healing environment. So you want to purposely steer clear of toxic sources to avoid causing imbalances in that energetic field. But it's also really important that you incorporate regular cleansing, grounding, and balancing techniques to periodically shed the unwanted negative energies. Now, grounding, well, that can be things like meditation. And I know a lot of people, they kind of balk at the word meditation. They say, oh, I can't do that. My mind goes in 12 directions. I like to replace the word meditation with silence and stillness. So you can ground yourself in silence and stillness through yoga, using Tai Chi. And, these days we have grounding mats. We were talking about that earlier, grounding mats and grounding sheets, which
Mhm.
allow you to allow the excess energy from your body to flow into the earth safely. And when people are curious about that and don't understand it, I say, well, you know how when your phone gets kind of wonky and it starts acting up and it's not doing things correctly, what do? You reboot it, right?
Mhm.
You
Yes.
shut it off and you let the excess charge run out of it, and then you turn it back on. I know I have to do that with my television set from time to time, that the smart TVs do that sometimes. Well, your body is energetic in nature the same way your cell phone or your television is. So, periodically shutting down and allowing the excess energy to safely and easily leave your body and go into the earth where it is neutralized is really imperative. We weren't born with shoes on. We were meant to have the bottoms of our feet in contact with the earth so that we can release the excess charge. You know what it's like when you get really excited about something or upset about something? You can feel that extra pulse of energy within you. Well, that doesn't just disappear. It needs to drain from you and it builds up over time. Now they have grounding mats that you can actually use instead of walking outside barefoot. I mean, I live in Michigan and walking outside barefoot right now would be very, very difficult because it's in the mid 30s out. So, grounding mats, they actually plug into a grounding outlet in your wall, and you can lay on them. You can have them on your desk and put your hands on them. You can put your bare feet on them, and they do the same thing as standing out on the ground, and they let that excess energy run out of you. So, those are many ways to ground. Cleansing. There are lots of different techniques for cleansing. Just a couple of them would be like a liver cleanse. I know I take supplements that help to keep my liver functioning. I also use different techniques with juicing of celery that actually helps to cleanse my liver. I do that every morning. I use trying to think what the oil is that I put on my skin, that above my liver, that actually castor oil. That's
Yes.
what it is. Have you
Mhm.
ever heard of that,
Yeah, oh,
Jean?
yes, I use that as well.
Yep, I put the castor oil on my body before I go to bed at night, put an old t-shirt on. It actually gets absorbed into the body and it will actually help to cleanse your liver. Proper hydration. I mean, that one cannot be underscored enough. Think about what a raisin looks like, and then remember that that raisin used to be a grape. And when you don't have enough water in your body, that's basically what you're doing to your organs in your body. You are sucking the liquid out of them, and they can't work effectively. And every organ plays a role in maintaining health and well-being in your body. So you have to make sure that you're drinking a lot of water and make it good water. I have a water system in my kitchen that removes all of the chlorine, it removes the fluoride, it removes any of the heavy metals from the water, and you can taste the difference and your body will thank you. Some people even go as far as having regular colonics done in order to cleanse their body, but cleansing is important as well. And the third one is balancing. Energy healing techniques are out there by the truckload. Find what you're drawn to because intuitively you will be drawn to what your body will benefit the most from. Like my husband and I were initially trained with Reiki, and Reiki is a great way of balancing your energy. Then we learned the Siwa Muri, which is the Balinese healing, which is even more powerful because it actually breaks up once we identify the blocks in the body, breaks them up, we sweep them away, and then it literally backfills that space with accelerated healing energy that accelerates your body's ability to heal itself for the next 24 to 48 hours. It's incredible, but you find what you're drawn to, and on a regular basis, do some healing sessions with people that know what they're doing so that you can get balanced energy throughout your body. That flow of energy is going to serve you well. So, in review, it's grounding, it's cleansing, and it's balancing. Those are the three different ways that you want to, on a regular basis, remove the toxicity that is accumulating within you. And then, of course, those things from outside of you, those are easily within your control. Turn off the news. Get rid of commercial TV. Stay away from the negative Nellies. Make sure that you are holding positive thoughts about yourself because you will never exceed your highest expectation. What
Mm.
is your highest expectation of yourself?
Great strategies for self-nourishment, self-care, self-healing. And as you indicated, Susan, look at what resonates with you. You might try different things, but for me, the litmus test is how it makes me feel. And I
Right.
know we want to feel good now. You and I talked previously about how life is simple. And a lot of times we have a tendency to make things more complicated, that we have to work extra hard to feel better.
Mm.
And it takes just that awareness, knowledge, and practice, which that's what Susan is providing with us today. But we have to do the work. No one can do it for us.
My favorite saying is, it's simple, but it's not easy.
Exactly. Exactly. But who doesn't want to feel good now?
That's right. And when you start to really own up to the fact that your life is not outside of your control, it's all within your control because you can control the way that you react and respond. You can control the quality of the thoughts that you hold. You can control the environments that you expose yourself to. When you take that all into consideration, you start to feel a little bit less like a victim and you start to feel like you have just put on a suit of armor that's covered in Teflon. And no matter what happens around you, it's just going to slide right off of you unless you decide to let it in.
Okay, enough is enough, right?
Right.
And this is self-love and self-care. So, Susan, talk about your services, things that you do, and listeners, how they can connect with you.
Absolutely. I work with people all over the world. I love the fact that the internet allows me to do that. People may not understand it, but you can actually do hypnotherapy work across Zoom. So
Oh,
I actually work with clients all around the world, and I do a combination of clinical hypnotherapy and guidance in all of my sessions so that I'm able to not only change what's going on in their inner mind so that it's serving them well, but also it's a way of helping them to shift their perspective on everything using their conscious mind so that they can feel more in control. They can feel like they are not a victim in this world. So I do the clinical hypnotherapy and guidance sessions both in my office and online. And that helps people on a number of levels. Also, my husband and I take the training that we learned in Indonesia and we offer training to students locally and around the world. And that has been just such an absolute blessing. And I love doing it so much that we discussed it this week. And Jean, I would like to announce for the very first time to the listeners of your show that we are now going to start to offer full scholarships to a limited number of individuals that are interested and drawn to learn how to use energy healing. It's available to everyone. This is not something that you have to be born with. This is something you can learn. And we have just been so excited to watch our students around the world get to a place to where they're channeling healing energy for the benefit of themselves, their friends, their families. And many of them have opened practices where they're working on individuals as well as animals. And it's been just an absolute blessing to watch these individuals come into their own. So, what we're going to do is we're going to be posting on our website the details, but individuals will be asked to fill out an application form, which will help us to understand a little bit more about their desire to learn energy
Mhm.
healing. And then we will be selecting individuals throughout the year that will participate in our classes and will be able to learn energy healing modality of Siwa Muri, the Balinese form of Hinduism that we learned back in 2019. They'll be able to learn this for themselves. So I'm excited to be able to offer that. We have never done this before, but we do know that there are some incredibly devoted individuals out there that simply don't have the financial resources to
Mhm.
get into the class. And I believe that we just can't do enough pro bono
Mhm.
work to reach the people that really need the healing and
Mhm.
need the training.
Oh, Susan, what a generous offer. We're truly grateful to you and your husband. And give us your website again.
Yes, the website is
Mhm.
www.healingmethods.org. So
Okay. Mhm.
healingmethods.org. And I will
Okay.
be posting some detailed information. But in the
Mhm. Okay.
meantime, you can visit the website and you can read all about our journey to
Okay.
Indonesia. You can read a little bit more
Mhm.
detail about the Balinese
Okay.
healing that we do, known as Siwa Muri, and about the hypnotherapy and guidance sessions as well.
Okay. Well, Susan, thank you so much for your generosity. We really appreciate you being here today, sharing your wisdom, knowledge, and tools to empower us to use our energy mindfully for the best outcomes for ourselves and others. We invite listeners to listen back to our show and share our show with others and connect with Susan to learn more and take advantage of the scholarship offer. We are powerful, and it is essential for us to harness our inner power to live our best lives. When we use our energy in positive ways, we vibe high. And I close with an excerpt on Vibe High. Boost your natural high. Be passionate and find your joy. Magnify your positive attributes. Disqualify unhealthy thoughts and feelings about yourself and life. Discord, stress, and worry distort your view and cloud your vision. Look through the lens of love and see the beauty and goodness that surrounds you. See clearly with fresh eyes from a broader and higher view. Shine and radiate positivity. Do what you love that refreshes your soul. Feel good now and create a life you love. This is Dr. Jean Marie, your Love Light host. And until we meet again, remember an empowered self is a loving self. And keep your love light shining. Thanks you so much for tuning in.